It's like, she's grabbing me, and all of the coaches from WNBA teams who are sitting there watching are just cracking up. Caitlin's stuck guarding Kelsey, and Kelsey's,
We've all heard the official narrative about the 2024 Olympic snub. They said she lacked the senior team experience. They said the timing wasn't right, but that was before the 2025 season happened. That was before the rumors started circulating that the veterans were tired of the Caitlin effect, overshadowing their legacy.
Just yells right in Becky Hammon and Nikki Fargas's face, and they're just cracking up. Kelsey had one situation where she sort of finished through traffic. She'd been
This training camp was the first time the powers that be at USA Basketball, led by managing director Sue Bird and coach Kara Lawson, were forced to reevaluate Caitlin in real time. What they saw was a player who isn't just healthy, she's dangerous. But there was a darker side to this camp that nobody is talking about. A secret security threat that nearly derailed everything. The first thing everyone noticed when Caitlin stepped onto the hardwood was the physical change. Remember the headlines from the 2024 offseason? She was hitting the weights, bulking up to handle the WNBA's legendary physicality, but that muscle came with a price. A string of soft tissue injuries, quad strains, groin issues, and ankle bruises wiped out almost her entire sophomore season. People were whispering that she'd traded her elite mobility for strength she didn't know how to use, but in Durham, that bulk was gone. She looked Iowa skinny again, leaner and more explosive than she's been since her college days. This physical transformation was the first sign that Caitlin had completely reevaluated her own approach to the game. She told reporters she was 100% healthy, but the real test wasn't in the interviews, it was in the 5-on-5 action. After nearly 5 months away from competitive basketball, she wasn't just ramping up. She was driving left, elevation hopping into three-pointers, and proving that her body had finally recovered from the grueling workload of the last 2 years. But while her body was ready, the veterans at the camp were waiting to see if her mind could handle the Plum protocol. If you want to understand why this camp was a fallout, you have to look at the scrimmage between Caitlin and Kelsey Plum. This wasn't a friendly instructional run, it was a war. Plum is a 3-time All-Star and a gold medalist who doesn't believe in giving an inch. According to people inside that gym, the physicality was on a different planet. Plum was knocking Caitlin off the ball, grabbing her jersey and using the more permissive FIBA level of contact to see if she would break. And what happened next shocked everyone in the building. Caitlin didn't just take it. She started yelling at the officials, demanding calls, and refusing to back down from the veterans' pressure. The sight of the league's biggest star getting into a shouting match with officials during a training camp scrimmage had the WNBA coaches on the sidelines cracking up. They weren't horrified, they were impressed. They were watching a rookie-on-veteran battle for an Olympic roster spot playing out in the most raw way possible. This interaction underscored the central tension within the program. The established champions are not willing to cede their hierarchy to the new era without a physical contest that tests every bit of their composure. While the fire was there, the technical evaluation was more complicated. There was a specific highlight that went viral. Paige Buckers, the UConn legend and Caitlin's longtime rival, hitting her with a pump fake that sent Caitlin flying, followed by a sidestep 3. For the critics, that one play was telling. It was the proof they needed that her defense is still a liability. But that wasn't the whole story. While the defense is still a work in progress, her vision was making some of the best players in the world look like amateurs. There's a specific mishap that's been circulating involving veteran post player Derrica Hamby. Caitlin threaded a pass in transition that was so fast and so perfectly placed that Hamby didn't know what to do with it. She brought the ball down, a mistake that gets you blocked every time at this level. It revealed a massive vision gap. Caitlin is playing at a speed and using passing windows that even elite WNBA veterans aren't ready for. The fallout here isn't that Caitlin isn't ready for Team USA. It's that Team USA might not be ready for Caitlin. To maximize her impact, the Federation may be forced to prioritize players like Aaliyah Boston who have already mastered that chemistry over more decorated veterans who struggle to adjust. Then, things got dark. While the media was focused on the basketball, a massive security crisis was unfolding behind the scenes. A 55-year-old man from Texas had been stalking Caitlin, sending hundreds of terrorizing messages, and even driving by her arenas multiple times a day. He was arrested right around the time of the camp, but the damage was done. The reports that Caitlin had to alter her appearance in public just to feel safe were confirmed in court documents. This is the weight she carries. While other players are focused on their jump shots, she's dealing with threats that would break most people. And yet she still showed up to Durham and performed at her explosive best. For USA Basketball, this creates a new layer of logistical complexity. Managing Clark on the national team involves more than just coaching. It requires an unprecedented level of security and protection to shield the sport's biggest star from the dark side of global fame. The Federation is having to move away from public appearance protocols to ensure her safety. This brings us to the biggest shock of the camp, the verdict from Sue Bird. As the new managing director, Bird's word is law. In 2024, the narrative was that Caitlin wasn't mature enough for the Olympic stage, but after watching her handle the injuries, the stalker, and the Kelsey Plum pressure, Bird did a total 180. She praised Caitlin's loyalty and her maturity in staying engaged with the Indiana Fever even when she was hurt. This is a massive institutional shift. The people who once left her off the roster are now the ones publicly defending her character. The re-evaluation is complete. So what does this fallout actually mean for the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics? It means the old guard era is officially on notice. The tension we saw between Plum and Clark is just the beginning. USA Basketball is being forced to choose between the veteran loyalty that has won them 8 consecutive gold medals and the revolutionary talent that is changing the economics of the entire sport. They've seen the way she handles the physical nature of the game. They've seen her vision surprise even the most seasoned all-stars. And they've seen the way she handles pressure that no other athlete in this league has ever faced. There is also the awkward reality of the labor market. While Clark and Plum were physically clashing in scrimmages, they were forced into a delicate alliance regarding the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement. Plum, a member of the union's executive committee, has described the negotiations as disheartening, while Clark has used her platform to call for compromise. This dynamic creates a complex psychological environment. These women are simultaneously fighting each other for limited jobs on the national team and fighting together against the league for a larger share of revenue. The data supports the shift. Looking at her 2025 stats, some critics pointed to a dip in percentages, but the technical intelligence gathered in Durham suggests those numbers were a direct result of playing through injuries that would have sidelined anyone else. By the time she hit the floor at Duke, her lateral movement and step-back three were fully restored. She isn't just a marketing phenomenon, she is statistically superior to several veterans currently holding roster spots. The ball is in USA Basketball's court now. They can either stick to their traditional process and risk another public relations nightmare, or they can embrace the fallout and build the team around the player who is already 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Caitlin Clark didn't just survive the Durham camp, she exposed the cracks in the system. If the veterans think a little off-ball knocking is going to stop what's coming next, they're in for a very rude awakening. As Sue Bird and Kara Lawson move forward, their success will depend on their ability to manage this friction. The 2026 World Cup in Germany will be the first real test of this young intern cohort. The Federation is finally prioritizing talent over program seniority. Caitlin Clark is no longer a player hoping to make the team. She is the player the team is being rebuilt to support. The fallout was not a collapse of the system, but the necessary destruction of an old hierarchy to make room for a new one. The re-evaluation is over, and the new era has already begun. But the story of the Durham fallout isn't just about what happened on the court. It's about the massive cultural and economic shift that this training camp solidified. For the first time, we saw the Caitlin Clark effect collide with the cold, hard reality of sports politics. While the veterans and the newcomers were trading elbows in Durham, they were also walking a tightrope in the most important labor negotiation in the history of the WNBA. Kelsey Plum, the very player who was testing Caitlin's physical limits on the floor, is a key figure on the union's executive committee. In the press conferences following those intense practices, the tone shifted from competitive fire to a somber, unified front. Plum described the current collective bargaining negotiations as disheartening and frustrating, citing how far apart the players and the league remain on issues like revenue sharing and roster expansion. This is where the re-evaluation of Caitlin Clark takes on a new dimension. She isn't just a scorer or a playmaker anymore, she is the leverage. During the camp, Caitlin spoke to the media about the gravity of the moment, calling the CBA negotiations a moment in history that can't be messed up. She has been educating herself on the nuances of the league's economics, talking to veteran teammates and union leaders. The fallout from the camp proved that while the old guard might still be trying to welcome her to the league with physical play, they are also looking to her to be the face of their fight for a 33% revenue split and better working conditions. The medical staff at USA Basketball also had their hands full during these 3 days, performing what many insiders called a deep dive into Caitlin's physical sustainability. The 2025 season, where she only played 13 games due to those nagging groin and quad issues, was a wake-up call. The theory inside the camp was that her 2024-2025 offseason bulk-up intended to make her stronger actually backfired, placing too much tension on her soft tissue. By returning to her leaner, more fluid Iowa frame, she showed the training staff that she's finally listening to her body's unique mechanics. Managing Director Sue Bird noticed this immediately. Bird's public comments about Caitlin's maturity weren't just about her handle or her passing, they were about her ability to handle a blip in her career. Bird was impressed by how Caitlin stayed engaged with the Indiana Fever even when she was shut down for the season, walking every step of the journey from the sidelines. That level of professional discipline is exactly what Team USA needs as they transition away from the legends of the past. The final piece of the fallout is the realization that the 2026 World Cup in Berlin is no longer just a tournament, it's a laboratory. The Federation is already looking at how to pair Caitlin with other young and stars like Paige Buchers and Angel Reese to create a high-velocity system that the rest of the world simply can't track. The vision gap we saw in Durham, where even veteran posts struggled to catch her transition passes, has forced coach Kara Lawson to rethink the entire offensive playbook. USA Basketball is no longer asking if Caitlin Clark fits their system. They are asking how fast they can change the system to fit her. The fallout from the Duke training camp wasn't a sign of weakness, it was the birth of a new era. The veterans have tested her, the stalkers have tried to terrorize her, and the injuries have tried to slow her down. But as the gym lights dimmed in Durham, only one truth remained. The reevaluation is over. Caitlin Clark is the standard, and the rest of the world is just trying to keep up.